I never thought I'd be the guy writing a story like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I'd been with Lisa for almost 5 years. We met at a bar, hit it off right away, and it seemed like everything was perfect until it was. We were supposed to get married next month. Everything was set, the venue, the invites, the dress. I even bought her a ring that I thought she'd love. But deep down, I was starting to feel like something was off, though I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It's funny how little things start to add up. Lisa had become more distant in the weeks leading up to the wedding. She'd cancel plans last minute, act secretive on her phone, and brush off my questions with bullshit excuses. She was busy, stressed, or just tired. I remember one night, I caught her hiding her phone when I walked into the living room, then quickly deleting a message. It was such a small thing, but it stuck with me. I didn't press her then because I didn't want to create a scene, but I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. The wedding rehearsal was the last thing I expected to shatter my world. We were all having dinner at a fancy restaurant after rehearsing the ceremony. Lisa was her usual bitchy self, snapping at the waiters, rolling her eyes at family members, acting like she was above everything. I remember sitting there, watching her, trying to act normal, but all I could think about was how she'd been acting strange lately. Then, out of nowhere, she excused herself to go to the bathroom. She'd been gone a little longer than usual, and I started to get this weird feeling like something was wrong. I decided to check her phone. I know, bad move, but I was desperate for some answers. I grabbed her purse from the chair she'd left it on and started to look through it. Her phone was there, locked, but I knew her passcode because she'd told me once out of arrogance. I entered it without thinking, just wanted to see if she was hiding something. What I found made my blood run cold. Texts from someone named Jake, talking about late-night fun, secrets, and how they couldn't keep their hands off each other anymore. I saw photos of her smiling, but I also saw an explicit message where she said she was coming over to take care of things with him. My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My head spun. The girl I loved, the girl I was about to marry, was cheating on me with my best friend. That night after Lisa disappeared with Jake, I sat there in stunned silence, staring at her phone. My mind raced, trying to process what I'd just seen. I didn't want to believe it. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe I'd misunderstood. But the evidence was right there, plain as day. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything in my mind, her sneaky behavior, the missed calls, the way she'd brushed me off whenever I tried to talk. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and the worst part was, I was so angry I didn't know what to do. I thought of confronting her right then, but I knew that wouldn't fix anything. I needed to think, to plan my next move. The wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but now all I could think about was how much I'd played. The next morning I woke up with this pounding headache and everything felt heavier. I was supposed to be excited, nervous even, about marrying Lisa, but instead I just felt numb. I didn't want to jump to conclusions without knowing more, but deep down I knew the truth. It wasn't a mistake and I wasn't imagining things. The evidence was there, clear as day. I kept staring at her phone, at the messages, the photos, the words that confirmed everything. I had to decide what to do next. I spent the day trying to act normal, but it was impossible. Every little thing Lisa did set me off. She was still acting bitchy, snapping at me for no reason and pretending everything was fine. I watched her lie through her teeth when I asked about her evening, about her sudden bathroom breaks, her late-night phone calls. She kept saying she was stressed, busy, that I was overreacting. But I knew better. I saw the texts, the pictures, the way she'd been sneaking around. By that night I knew I couldn't keep quiet. I had to confront her, get some answers, or at least break her down enough to see that I wasn't stupid. I waited until she was in the kitchen, pretending to be busy with some stupid excuse about cleaning or some bullshit. I turned to her and said, "Lisa, I need to talk, about last night, about everything." Her face immediately turned defensive. She tried to brush me off, saying she was tired, stressed, that I was being paranoid. I didn't buy her act. I pulled out her phone and held it up. "Who is Jake?" I asked bluntly. Her eyes widened just for a second, then she threw on her fake bitchy smile. "What are you talking about? You're crazy. There's no Jake." I shook my head. "Stop lying. I saw the messages, the pictures, the late-night calls. Tell me what's going on." Her face twisted into this annoyed, angry expression. God, you're so insecure, it's just some stupid flirtation, nothing serious. You're overthinking everything as usual. That's when I saw her try to grab her phone back, her eyes darting around like she was planning her next lie. That's when I lost my temper a little. I told her she could either be honest with me, or I'd find out the truth. Myself. Her lips pressed into a thin line and then she finally snapped. You don't understand, okay? Jake, just a friend. A stupid mistake I made when I was drunk and it's not a big deal. I swear I never intended for it to go this far. I looked at her, furious, betrayed, feeling like my heart was breaking into pieces. How could she lie so easily? How could she sit there and pretend nothing was wrong while she was screwing around behind my back? I felt a mix of rage and sadness, like I'd been punched again and again. I told her I needed some time to think, that I wasn't going to accept her lies. She just shrugged, acting like she didn't care, like she'd already decided she was going to do whatever she wanted. That night I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The girl I thought I knew, the girl I loved, she was a liar, a cheat, a manipulator. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I felt devastated, but part of me was also furious. How dare she betray me like that, right before the biggest day of my life? I started thinking about what I should do, whether I should confront her again or just end it. The trust was gone, completely shattered. I knew I couldn't go through with the wedding, not after finding out what she'd done. But I also knew I couldn't just throw everything away without a plan. I had to be smart about this. Over the next few days, I couldn't get her out of my mind. Every time I saw her, I felt this mix of disgust and heartbreak. I kept asking myself how someone I trusted so much could turn into this lying, cheating bitch. I wasn't naive. I knew people could be complicated, but I never thought Lisa would be capable of this level of betrayal. It was like my whole world had been turned upside down overnight. I started to gather evidence, just in case I needed to prove anything later. I didn't want to go into a confrontation empty-handed. I found more messages. She'd been texting Jake nonstop, even when she was supposedly working late or out with friends. There were photos of them together, smirking, smiling like it was just a game for her. I also noticed she was acting differently around her friends, especially her best friend, Sarah. She'd become more secretive, more bitchy, snapping at anyone who dared ask her about her whereabouts. It was obvious she was hiding something, and I was done playing the fool. One evening, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I waited until she was in the living room, watching TV like nothing had happened. I sat down next to her, trying to keep my voice steady. Lisa, we need to talk. Seriously. I looked her right in the eyes. I know about Jake, about everything. The texts, the photos, the nights you've been sneaking around, so don't even try to deny it. Her face immediately twisted into that fake, annoyed look she loved to wear. You're overreacting as usual. This isn't a big deal. We're about to get married, Mike. You're just being paranoid. I shook my head, feeling the rage boiling inside me. No, Lisa, you lied straight to my face. You've been cheating on me for months with my best friend. How could you do that? Do you even care about me, about what this means? She leaned back, crossing her arms, acting like she was bored. Look, I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just sex, okay? It doesn't mean anything. Jake and I cut her off. Save it. I don't want your bullshit explanations. I saw the messages myself. You've been lying and screwing around while I was planning our wedding. Do you even realize how much you've hurt me? Her response was to shrug, like I was the one overreacting. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I made a mistake, sure. But it's not like I love him or anything. It was just sex. It's not a reason to end everything. Her words hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt so betrayed I couldn't even speak for a moment. I was furious but also broken. I'd trusted her, and she'd thrown that trust in the trash for some guy she barely knew. That night, I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just heard. I realized that I couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine. The girl I loved, the girl I was supposed to marry, was a liar, a cheat, and she didn't care about me at all. I also knew I couldn't just brush it under the rug. I had to decide what I wanted to do with my life from here. Should I confront her again? Should I call off the wedding? Should I just walk away and forget her? I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, but I also knew I deserved better than this. I deserved honesty and respect, not some fake bitch pretending everything was perfect. The thing that haunted me most was the fact that I had already made plans. Our future, our wedding, everything I thought was real, except it was all a lie. I felt like I was drowning, and the only thing that kept me going was the thought that I had to get out of this mess somehow. I just didn't know what that somehow was yet. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything, not work, not the wedding plans, not even basic stuff like eating or sleeping. All I kept thinking about was her. Her lies, her betrayal, that sick feeling in my stomach. I still couldn't believe she had played me like some fool, using me, lying to my face and screwing around with my best friend. The worst part was that she acted so innocent, so bitchy and dismissive, like I was the one overreacting. It made me want to scream. I knew I had to do something, anything, to get clarity, to understand what I was really dealing with. One night, I decided I'd had enough of the silent treatment. I needed to confront her again, get her to admit everything. I waited until she was in the bathroom, brushing her teeth or whatever, and then I went into her purse. I grabbed her phone once more, just to make sure I hadn't missed anything, and I started scrolling through her recent messages. I figured if I could find more proof, I'd be ready to put an end to this once and for all. That's when I saw it, the message from Jake, the last one she'd sent that night she disappeared. It was explicit, full of promises, and it said she was coming over to take care of things, just like I'd seen before. But what really hit me was the timestamp. It was from just a couple of hours before she left the restaurant that night. She'd been lying all along, pretending to be busy or stressed, while she was really with him. I stared at the screen in disbelief, feeling this mix of rage and heartbreak. I snapped a screenshot of the conversation and closed her phone gently. I didn't want to wake her up or make her suspicious. I knew that once I had the proof, I could finally get her to face the reality of what she'd done. But I also knew that I needed a plan, something to do that would make her regret what she'd thrown away. I wasn't just going to confront her and then pretend everything was okay. No, I knew I had to be strategic. If she thought she could lie her way out, she was dead wrong. The next day, I reached out to my best man, Jason. I told him everything about the texts, the photos, the lies. I explained I didn't want to ruin her reputation, but I also couldn't go through with the wedding now. Jason was quiet at first, then told me I had to think about what I really wanted. Did I want to stay with her after this? Could I forgive her? Honestly, I didn't know. All I knew was I'd never felt this betrayed in my life. That night I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the pictures of her and Jake, trying to remember what I saw in her. It was like I was waking up from a nightmare I couldn't escape. I realized I was at a crossroads. Either I let her lie and pretend everything was fine, or I took control of the situation and did something about it. The anger built up inside me, but so did the sadness. I understood now that I couldn't keep going on like this. Not with lies, not with betrayal. I had to make a choice, even if it hurt. I finally decided I was done. Done with her games, her lies, her bullshit. I wasn't going to be the guy who gets played like a fool. I needed to end this before I lost myself completely. I knew I'd have to be the one to end it, to tell her it was over, to make her see that her actions had consequences. It wasn't just about the wedding anymore. It was about my dignity, my self-respect. And I wasn't going to lose that without a fight. The decision wasn't easy, but I knew it was the right one. I started planning how I'd tell her. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some pushover anymore. This was real, and I was serious. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing she'd broken me completely, but I also didn't want her to keep lying or pretending she was innocent. I needed to make her understand that I had all the proof, that I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. One evening I called her into the living room. Her face immediately stiffened when she saw the look on mine. She knew I wasn't happy. I took a deep breath and looked her right in the eyes. "Lisa, I know everything," I said simply. "The texts, the nights you've been lying about, the secret meetings with Jake, I've seen enough. I've had enough." Her eyes flitted around, trying to come up with some bullshit excuse, but I cut her off. "Don't bother. I'm done pretending. I know what you are, a liar, a cheat, and someone I can't trust anymore. I want you to leave." Her face twisted into that familiar fake bitchy smirk, but I saw the flicker of panic behind her eyes. She started to deny everything, but I handed her the screenshot I'd taken. "It's all right here. You can't lie your way out of this one." She looked at it for a moment, then tossed her hair and said, "You're overreacting. This is just a stupid mistake." I felt my blood boil. A mistake? You call screwing around with my best friend a mistake? That's not a mistake, that's a choice. And I'm done with your lies. You want to go ahead and lie some more, fine, but I'm not sticking around to be your fool anymore. You want to have sex with Jake, be my guest, just don't expect me to be part of this anymore. That's when she finally looked angry, her bitchy attitude turning into pure venom. "You're crazy, you're overreacting, I don't know what you're talking about." I shook my head. "No, Lisa, I know exactly what you're doing, and I'm not going to be a part of it anymore. You want to screw around with Jake, fine, but I won't be around. When the shit hits the fan, I'm leaving and I want you out of my life." I grabbed my keys, my phone, and told her to pack her things, that if she really wanted to be with Jake, she could have him. I wasn't going to stop her. Watching her storm out that night, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. I'd finally taken control of my life, but it hurt like hell. I'd lost someone I thought was my everything. The betrayal cut deep, but I also knew I had to move on. I had to rebuild my life from scratch. I realized that sometimes the biggest act of self-respect is walking away from someone who doesn't deserve you. Now, I'm living alone, trying to piece myself back together. The wedding is off and I've blocked her number. I don't know what she's doing now or if she even cares, but I've learned something through all this. Trust is fragile, and if someone's willing to betray you like that, you've got to cut them loose before they destroy everything you stand for. It's been a brutal lesson, but it's one I won't forget. And honestly, I don't regret it. Not anymore. Since walking away, I've had a lot of time to think about everything. It's not easy to admit, but I've come to see that I was blinded by love, or maybe just hope that she'd change. The truth is, Lisa never really loved me. She just used me as a backup, a safety net until she found someone better. Seeing her with Jake made that painfully clear. And honestly, I'm better off without her. I've started focusing on myself, rebuilding trust in the idea that I deserve someone honest, someone who respects me. What I've learned from this mess is simple. Never ignore the red flags and don't let anyone treat you like you're disposable. Trust is earned, not given blindly. And if someone betrays you in the worst way possible, don't be afraid to walk away, even if it hurts. Because staying would only mean more pain, more lies, and a life built on a foundation of bullshit. I'm not exactly sure what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure. I won't let this break me. I'll find happiness again, maybe even love, but only with someone who's truly worthy of my trust. For anyone out there going through something similar, my advice is this: don't be afraid to face the truth. Confront it head on and don't let anyone make you feel small for seeing it. You are worth more than their lies, more than their betrayal. Your happiness is worth fighting for, even if you have to start all over. So that's my story. It's messy, painful, and not what I expected, but it's real. And if you're reading this, if you're going through your own heartbreak, I hope it helps you realize you're not alone. Sometimes the only way forward is to cut out the poison, no matter how much it hurts. And trust me, healing is possible, even if it takes time.